Okay, this is one of one GM's L89 automatic. That's a 375 horse 396 with aluminum heads. It's got rear window defog, power top, and it boasts, seriously, hold on, 58,000 miles. I've owned this car since 1982. Let's fire it up. All right, I'll put this right up there. Come on, baby. Idle's a little high. That's okay. Car's a little old. It's been driven in like 10 years. Imagine that, 10 years, it fires right up. The gas is 10 years old. AM/FM stereo. No frills. Crank windows. Grab handle for fun. This thing actually came with, brand new in the box, the 8-track tape players that go down here, which I never installed. They're still in the box. Those are super rare today. Let's get out and hear it. You can hear the solid lifters clocking away. The Nader strap. Guys, remember those? Super rare. Running out of gas now. The 10-year-old gas is finally gone. Smells like wood burning. But that's the way these cars were. Okay, let's go over this car. Now, when I say it's one of one, there was actually 11 built, from what I understand. I don't know how they have found out how many cars are actually out there. I stayed in silence in the shadows all the years while I owned this car. I bought this car sight unseen, and it was all apart, half-assed, done. The engine, transmission were in the trunk. It had no front seats, and I bought it in 1982. So over the years, I threw the car back together the way it was, and over the years, I added full disc brakes because this thing was so damn fast you couldn't stop it. So it's got JL8 brakes on it, a turbo 400 that has the CX code, which is matching numbers to the L89 396 in here. The only thing I found out was the heads were ZL1 heads, and from what I have been told, they were changed back around 1975, 76, when the gas donor, gas was junk back in the day. You couldn't run high compression. This thing still boasts 11:1 compression, but it has the open chamber heads on it now, not the closed chamber. I think they're 842s that came on the car. So they got the 074 ZL1 heads on it. I took the original carb off the car, and I still have it. The smog is somewhere around here. The original $14.99 distributor I still have down in my basement somewhere, and the rear window defogger unit is still in the basement. I never put back in the car because I always had the top down rocking this thing. Now, I do have certification from the National Corvette Restoration Society that this car was actually owned by GM itself. It was ordered and owned by General Motors as a promotional vehicle. It's got the 8-track tape player. It had the blue light stereo, but it was burned out, so I put an orange stereo in it. It still has the holes down there in the kick panels for the speakers. It's got crank windows. It has not many creature comforts other than the power top, the rear window defogger, the 8-track power disc brakes, the automatic. It has a 355 positive traction rear end. All the stuff you're looking at is all original. The top I replaced years and years ago, so it's been replaced. The windshield has been replaced because this car was rolled over once by one of the original owners back in the day. There's an interesting story on this car, and I want to go inside and sit down and tell you guys about it. The reason I'm doing this is because, you know, I've watched BarrettJackson auction for a long time, and some of the stuff that goes through there is ridiculous. You know, it's crazy. Me being around since day one, living through this, to watch this stuff resurface, and the stories I hear are just totally bonkers, I'm telling you, everybody. Because I'm getting to the age now where I have to say, hey, do I need to let some things go? So, we'll see. I'll tell you the story about this inside. You're going to laugh. Grab your favorite smoke, beverage, and popcorn, and you're going to find out that this man's car was actually driven by a woman. And you're going to find out who the woman is, and I'm going to tell you who she is. And her son is actually a brain surgeon in Chicago. And he's probably been looking for this car for a while. But anyways, let's go inside and let's talk about it. Here is the documentation for my Camaro. And when you read this, you'll see it's a shipping data report. October 14, 2016 is when I contacted them. They give you the information on it. It was actually owned right here. The dealer code was 0 in zone 12, and that means that this was ordered and shipped to the Buffalo zone office from Chevrolet. So it was an internal order, and you know, that's pretty cool. Okay, the story of my convertible. How I attained that car. I bought it sight unseen around 1982 for about 600 bucks. I worked for a guy in Meadville. The car never left Meadville, Pennsylvania. It was, you know, it was bought through an auction. It was like an internal auction that the dealers used to be able to buy demos, test vehicles, you know, promotional vehicles, stuff like that. So the dealer, Vic Ferris Chevrolet, actually had a friend who owned a forge company in Meadville. It's called Aero Forge. He wanted a convertible for his wife, but it was hard to get a convertible, especially so late in the year. And so anyways, Vic, you know, he did some digging and he found this Camaro convertible that was basically, they send you a sheet of paper in the mail, you put a bid in on it, and that's what you're getting. And this thing showed up, and it was a monster aluminum headed 396 saw lifter cam turbo 400 that had a factory 8-track stereo in it, and You know, it was not a lot of creature comforts in the car. It was all go, and had a 355 positive traction rear end in it. And Lee came down, looked at the car, and decided it was way too much for his wife. And over the years, the year I should say, because the car sat in the showroom for about a year. The car was built in June of '69. Went to the Buffalo Central office, and it wasn't titled until 1970. I think it was April 1970. And so that's how long that car actually sat in the showroom, you know, before Lee had committed to buying it for his wife. Now his wife worked at a radio station in Meadville, Pennsylvania. It was called WMGW, and she used to pick on her all the time, because when she would show up for her shift, and she used to pull into the parking lot, the windows of the radio station would rattle because the car was so loud, and, you know, choppy cam and all that. So, but that's how, you know, she obtained the car. You know what I mean? Over the years, I tracked this car down, because I remember people talking about it, and it was like the, you know, it was they said it was, you know, pretty violent for, you know, in the tri-state area down there, because there was a lot of muscle cars in that area, a lot of them, Mopars, Fords, and Chevrolets, you know. And I ended up going to work for that dealership over the years, but before I went to work there, I used to buy the used cars in the back lot. Anything with a 4-speed, they called it the bone lot in the back, and, you know, a lot of them were pretty beat, you know. But hey, you could get yourself a nice Super Sport C28, you know, even a Corvette sometimes. Most of the Corvette 4-speeds, if they were decent, went out on the front lot of the used car lot. You know, they always cashed in on those. But like you say, you know, over the years, I ended up attaining the car. One day, out of a surprise, my boss come up to me and goes, "Hey, you want to buy a convertible?" And you don't think twice. You just say, "Yeah." You know, I said, "Yeah, how much?" And he goes, $600. And I said, "Okay." And anyways, 2 days later, it came on a tow truck, dropped off there, and it was completely apart, and everything was thrown in the car. And I put it back together the way it was. The engine, transmission were all stuffed in the trunk. It was missing the front seats. It took me a long time to find those. I actually found them. And the 8-track tape player was, somebody just cut the wires off and, you know, took it out and got rid of it. And weird thing is, they had cut the wires at different segments in the harness, because it had this big harness on the thing, because it's a multiplex stereo. And anyways, I went to the guy that, you know, took the stereo out, tracking the parts down. He had the seats. He told me he sold the 8-track to his neighbor, and his neighbor took it to Pittsburgh Parts-A-Rama. And he said he's going to sell it down there. So anyways, me and my brother, we knew Pittsburgh Parts-A-Rama was coming up. We went down there, and there was the 8-track tape player. I ended up buying the thing for like $25. Came back, and you can see the wires matched up perfectly where he cut it in 3 different places, and I put it back in the car. And it don't work. To this day, it ended up dying over the years, but it's funny that you find something that trivial and put it back in, you know. But anyways, like I say, you know, that's the story on the car. You know, I've been hearing all these weird things on, you know, I watch BarrettJackson and all this stuff, and the stories that come up with these cars are insane. I've been in this muscle car market since I was a kid. My father, growing up, you know, we lived at different military bases, army bases, you know, around the country, and we'd always go to the dealership when the new cars were coming in. We wanted to see these things, and it was like an event. Like, we'd wait there the night before. They were like, you know, they would arrive around the end of August, and we would sit there and wait for the Anchor Motor Freight trucks to come in and unload these things so we could see the new model years, you know. You know, they were stunning back then. They had style. And so, like I say, over the years, I watched these cars. You know, I just sit back, because it was just one of my loves. It wasn't something that was that I wanted to go and cash in on. You know what I mean? The Gulf War, when that hit, the muscle car market died. Everybody took the money out and invested it in, you know, the war. And it kind of gave everybody a chance to go buy those cars that we wanted. And so me and my father, we bought a bunch of cars. My son, we bought a bunch of cars. And then we realized that we had way too many. And, you know, so we sold them all. And I still have a ton of parts left, like big blocks and, you know, brackets and 4-speeds, and, you know, I don't even know what I have anymore. But I think it's time to clear out the barn, you know what I mean, start selling stuff off. But getting back to the BarrettJackson thing, after I seen the Black Ghost 70 Hemi Challenger, you know, black on black on black, awesome car, super rare. Yeah, they were iconic, but you had to stuff money into those cars, man, back then, to, you know, to build a Hemi to make it competitive. They were kind of a slug on the street, especially in a 4,000-pound car. You were better off to spend your money on a 6-pack 440, you know, and a Roadrunner or something, you know, a Super B or something like that. It was, you got more bang for your buck, and the cars were pretty violent, you know. I grew up, my uncle, he was heavily into buying muscle cars also, and, you know, seemed like every week we had a new car, you know, something to go bang around the country in. And a lot of Mopars down there with, you know, 4-speeds, big blocks. I had a 68 Cornet RT that had a 440 4-speed in it. I don't know if it was a matching numbers car or not. We ended up, over time, yanking the engine out of the thing and putting it in our stock car, because we had a 67 GTX that we used to run as a stock car. So, you know, those cars went away over the years. But the stories I hear, and, you know, like I say, I've been around since day one in this whole market, and I've watched it because it's one of my loves, you know. And now I see these things where these people are buying them, and they're up in the VIP booths at BarrettJackson, and, you know, they're just buying 6, 8 cars at a time, and they got, you know, 5 gold diggers around them. These guys, I don't even think they could set the lifters in them, you know. If that car shut off on the way home, I don't even know if they could diagnose it, you know. But what they do is they trailer them around. It's like a collector thing. I don't understand it. I really don't. How many cars can you have? I've been there. You have too many, and you can't maintain them all. And one of my most favorite cars, which was this convertible I'm talking about here, it's time to get it back on the road or sell it. You know, I've seen them, you know, some of them rack tops go for, you know, a couple $100 grand. You know, that's a lot of money. You know, and so, you know, what's my car worth? You know, it was owned internally by Chevrolet itself as a promotional vehicle, and you know, there's a trail of the car. I got it certified through the National Corvette Restoration Society with their shipping manifest, you know, to show that it was owned by GM itself. You know, I've always heard these stories all through the years. I can never prove it. You know, and the thing is, without any documentation on nothing, you know, what do? You know, but anyways, that's a story on that. So, you know, I thought I'd give you guys something different today other than a RC car build, to show you guys that I have been in this business for a long time, and I see a lot of YouTube videos coming up with a lot of younger guys. Some of them are very knowledgeable, but that information's out there in the web. Anybody can find that information if they want to search it. For instance, like when I was searching down the history of my convertible all through the years, I was always looking for paperwork. And I ended up getting my hands on a complete list of all 69 ZL1 Camaros that were built. They built 1969 Camaros. And I got the dealerships, the colors, the options. They were all tracked, you know, and I got that somewhere around the house. It was just cool to have, you know, because you never know when you're out looking at a car. You know, I always brought that list with me just to check the VIN numbers on them, because you never know. You know, I mean, you could score. No, I mean, hey, I scored my ragtop. I didn't even know it was a aluminum-headed L89 396 until it got dropped in front of me. You know. So, anyways, guys, love to all. Like, share, subscribe if you want. I'll be putting up more videos and everything else. And thanks for hanging out with me today and listening to my boring story of my convertible. So, later.